Good morning. Welcome to our February work session for those on Facebook and here in person. First, I'd like to keep our prayers for our Mayor Whitus, who is under the weather at this moment. And I'd like to have a moment of silence for the officer that was killed at Bridgewater College. Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Mr. Hunter,
Here.
Mr. Cole,
Here.
Mrs. Amos,
Here.
Mr. Parrott,
Here.
Mr. Vincent,
Here.
Mr. Reed,
Here.
Mr. Dwyer.
Here.
Introduction of the Farmville Police Department new officers and the 2021 officers of the year. Chief?
Good morning, Vice Mayor, council members, town manager. If I may, I would like to request that we postpone the introduction of the Officer of the Year. It is one of our detectives, and what happened this weekend, they're very active right now, so I don't think he's going to be able to make it. With that in hand, I have two officers that I would like to introduce to you. Gentlemen, y'all come up. I have Officer Kyle Britton, immediate to my right, and Officer Christopher West. Officer Kyle Britton is an Henrico County native who graduated from Radford University in 2010 and began working with the Department of Corrections shortly after as a corrections officer and then promoted to corrections sergeant. In 2016, he transferred to the District 24 Parole Office here in Farmville as their intensive and gang probation officer. Officer Britton left the Department of Corrections after 11 years of service to begin his next chapter with the town of Farmville. Officer Britton has been a local of Farmville for the past 10 years and is married with his wife and 2 children. Officer Britton. Officer West is originally born in Fisherville, Virginia. He graduated from Nottoway High School in 2015 and then went on to graduate from VCU in Richmond in 2019 with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. After graduating, he decided to help out and work at his family's new restaurant as a cook in Allegheny County, Virginia. Officer West was never able to settle down in one spot due to his parents' occupation, but he is more than ready to settle down and make Farmville his new home. Officer West. Thank you, gentlemen. I do have 3 other awards that we just recently presented at our annual department meeting last month, in addition to the Officer of the Year award. At this time, I would like for Officer Stuart Godsey, Officer Bobby Ragland, and our Communications Director, Jackie Gilbert, to come forward. Each of these individuals received the Otto Overton Meritorious Service Award. Just to give you some background on this, the Meritorious Service Award named in honor and memory of former Farmville Police Chief Otto S. Overton. The award is for the department members who demonstrate exceptional service to the community to a particular task or assignments. This is the 4th highest award the department can bestow on a member and is accompanied by a certificate. First off, Officer Godsey, Corporal Godsey, if you would step forward. Officer Godsey recently retired as of December 31st with the Farmville Police Department. He has served over 37 years in law enforcement and served 4 different agencies in this community: Buckingham County Sheriff's Office, Cumberland County Sheriff's Office, Prince Edward County Sheriff's Office, where he originally started his career and ended up retiring here with the Farmville Police Department. I can't say enough about Stuart and the time, the effort, and the energy that he has given to this community in 37 years. So I thought it was most appropriate that I recognize him with this award. I know he began his career working as a dispatcher for Otto Overton, and I believe Otto brought him on board when he retired from Cumberland County. So with that, Stuart, I just want to say thank you for everything you've done for this department. He's also holding on, helping me part-time until we get back to full staff. I don't think he can leave it. So, but again, Stuart, it's been a pleasure. It's been a great ride, and you're a dear friend. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you all.
The next two, Lieutenant Bobby Ragland and Jackie Gilbert, who's our 911 Communications Director. Over the past 2 years, in light of COVID, what's hit, the loss of employees, staffing, the Farmville Police Department lost 7 people last year. These two have been hit with adversity, and they have done exceptionally well. I just want to give you a background real quick on the I gave you on the Meritorious Award. But these two have stepped up, and they have fought. They have made sure that we have our schedulings are complete, we have proper staffing. And I just feel like they have gone above and beyond the call of duty the last 2 years. So at this time, I just want to honor both of them in their service of the Otto Overton Meritorious Service Award. Still don't have BH. Okay. That's all. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Chief, and congratulations to you all, and welcome to the new police officers.
Thank you.
Mr. Reed, I do have one other introduction that we need to add because she came to work here this week after this was done. And so I'm going to ask our Director of Community Development, Lee Pambin, to introduce a new administrative assistant for the Community Development Office, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Because you and your constituents will be, they'll see her. She'll be the face when they come in the door for a permit.
Thank you, everybody, Mr. Town Manager and members of the council. I'd like to introduce Michelle Watkins right here. She is the new Administrative Assistant 2 for the Department of Community Development. Michelle is a 1995 graduate of Prince Edward County High School, and she has more than 17 years of experience doing the kind of work that we'll be expecting her to do. She has worked in a variety of settings, including private sector, state and local government. With the state, she worked for a couple of the area correctional facilities. And for local government, her most recent posting was at Appomattox County Department of Social Services. She's also worked for a couple of community service organizations, the Helton House and the Crossroads Community Services Board. So we're very pleased to have her on board. Her position has been vacant for, or I guess that position has been vacant for about 4 months now. And what we do, we have a lot of tracking of cases that are involved, and she's going to help us out greatly. So Michelle, is there anything you want to add? Okay, so I think that'll be it for that. But again, we're very pleased to have her on board, and we're looking forward to working with her. Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome, Michelle. Next on our agenda is old business. Discussion with redistricting.
Mr. Vice Mayor, we have on your screens Melody Foster from Commonwealth Regional Council, who has information to share with you. At our last meeting, we talked about redistricting and coming up with how we would make those adjustments to our existing boundaries so that it meets the criteria for us population-wise. And so I'm going to turn it over to Melody so she can explain what has changed in order for us to potentially meet those requirements and answer any of your questions. And then we'll go to the next topic that pertains to this as well.
Thanks, Scott. I worked with Ashley on this. Of course, she was great because she's very familiar with the town. I just zoomed in so that, and I'm gonna get Ashley to help me to make sure I cover all of the blocks that we did move. And I'm pretty sure you have a copy of the map. Is that correct?
Yeah, they do. They have a
Okay.
copy of, but it's hard. This will be more beneficial. You can blow it up and they can see more than the PDF. So I gave them a
Okay.
copy of the existing and then the new, but they'll be able to see a lot more of
Okay.
what really changed with what you're doing today.
Okay, so to begin with, I've zoomed in on the northern part of the town of Farmville. And you know that previously District E was plus 43.07%. So, you know, that needed to be a major change because all the districts are supposed to be within plus or minus 5%. So one of the things we did is this block, which is the one we've talked about before. That's actually the parking lot on the other side of Greenfront before you get to the Appomattox River. And I know it's ridiculous, but they are showing that there are 573 people in that block. We've talked about how the census is injecting noise into the data to protect privacy. And I know you talked last month about whether you wanted to challenge that, but it probably wasn't, you know, going to help a whole lot because you wouldn't get an answer probably in time for redistricting. So one of the most obvious things was we took out of District E this block that was 573. We also took this block, and you see the shape of that had 20 people in it. And this one was only 0, but we pulled it in to this district as well, just because it looked like it fit better. So bringing all of that into District B, pretty much for E, got that within compliance, and you can see that that's now plus 2.21%. So that got that in compliance. District B, we also made a change in adding this block that had 308 people. This is in at Longwood. And I believe, Ashley, am I correct? That's really the only other difference we made. Those are all the changes that we brought in, made changes to District B. Okay, and then I'm gonna move over, or down rather. District C, we needed to make some changes to A and to C. So we made District C previously at, I'm gonna highlight it. District C basically brought all of this into District C from A, and then also brought along this street, along First Street, all of this was brought into District C from what previously was B. Those are the major changes to C and A. And District D, we didn't make any changes to because it was already within compliance. It was negative 0.55. I believe those are all the major changes. There were not a lot. Ashley made some good decisions and we were able to get everything within compliance pretty quickly. So are there any questions?
Did we have a community input into this that I asked?
You all didn't directly say that you were going to have a committee. You were supposed to submit to me any ideas for a committee, and as of right now, Mr. Reed, you gave me one person's name, but no one else has shared any. I'm sorry, Mr. Hunter did. I apologize. We did talk about that. You and Mr. Hunter did give me an individual's name. Actually, I think I asked Mr. Hunter, but anyway. Before the last meeting. It was not formally said that we would have a committee. I was still waiting to see who wanted to have any input on names. As I said the last time, I don't know what a redistricting committee can add to this. The confines of Farmville is a little different than having a redistricting committee to me for the state or some county that is really large. We don't have many options of reconfiguring the current districts. And as I said before, the other public input period is you have to have a public hearing. So you're going to have public input from a public hearing of people that are wanting to comment or make suggestions or object. However, in saying all that, that is totally up to the council on whether you decide to have a redistricting committee. What are they going to do? You need to set out what their purpose is, that they work with staff to then work with Melody. I don't think you should get them to work directly with Melody. That's not probably what we should do. It should be our staff people here. The other thing is we're in a real big crunch because as you're going to hear in the next speaker, we need to have this done prior to 60 days before the next election, which means you all need to vote on this no later than probably your April meeting. But it would be best if you could vote on it at your March meeting.
I guess that's where my concern lies in organizing a committee and getting committee members up to speed on what's happening, and then to what effect that pushes us back as we move into setting up November elections.
Well, my only concern was I just was trying to get members of the community involved. You know, even if it's just one meeting, just get them involved.
I mean, if you didn't want to have a public hearing, but you wanted to have a, when we did the comprehensive plan, we hosted several informational sessions. If you want to have an information session that we put out, and we'd have to set up a time that was good to Melody and our staff and say, okay, on Thursday, whatever date at 6 o'clock, anybody that's interested in redistricting and knowing the drawing of the map, they could come here and not be a committee, but just have an information session on what it is, how it's done, here's what the changes were, and we could do something like that. If you're looking for that type of, if that meets some of the input that you're talking about, Mr. Reed, other than set representatives from the community, because then traditionally those people are going to have to go back and get comments from other people to come back and relay that. So that's just a thought I can throw out there for you.
Scott, I also could provide you large-scale maps of the before and after, and you could just display them there at the town hall so that people could see the changes.
Okay. Yeah, we could print them on our plotter.
Yeah.
And have the existing and the new, and then we would be able to tell. We'd have staff to explain that. We could put that in a certain area in the front area where people come to pay their bills or whatever. We could do that and the informational. If that works, or if there's a discussion of committee, that's up to you all as well.
Melody, can you do a split screen of the before and after?
Let me see if I can just bring it up, if I have the PDFs of it.
And Melody, is that 500 chunk of noise, is that the biggest significant block of noise injected into our districts?
Well, yeah, I guess so. There's also, I think I showed y'all before, and we didn't move this or anything. You have a block out on the western part of town that has a -93.
Ward B, it seems, it's just a funny thing to say and I understand all the parameters we're working within, but it takes away what is essentially some of the most active members of Ward B out of there and injects 500 people that don't exist.
The best I can do is because the PDF is trying to just do this in tabs, it won't let me bring one up and then minimize it and bring the other up, but I can switch back and forth. This was what it looked like with what you started with, and then this is what, we created to meet those guidelines. I don't know if that's helpful.
So how soon can we schedule an informational meeting and then with the maps displayed?
I feel confident we can get the maps. I'm not going to speak for Lee and Ashley, but I'm pretty sure we could get the maps printed this week and put them on display. Informational meeting, we probably want to give people about 2 weeks and give some notice, put it on the radio and put it on our website, Facebook, and all that kind of stuff, social media, and set a date for people to come and have that informational meeting.
I like that idea of doing that because I think, it would be good to raise some awareness amongst all these different wards as to what's shifting.
Yeah, I would feel better doing that.
We can we'll make that date, and 2 to 3 weeks we'll have that informational meeting.
So can we get printed copies of these maps here?
Yeah, you already I've already provided y'all the printed copies of the maps, and we'll have them actually. The size you got will not be what we display. We will display a full version that will be on a board that you can actually physically see better. Like we did, for those of you who remember the comprehensive plan, we had larger material to view.
And Ashley, I can create those as a PDF and email them to you if you want to just print them out on your plotter.
That's fine.
Do you want both, Scott? Do you want the original and the plan that was created?
Yes.
We have the original. We have the
I don't
current.
know if you wanted that as large scale too. What I sent originally was just a 11 by 17. I mean, do you want a large scale PDF of both?
I'll get with Ashley about the current, if we need that. We may already have that to where, because we already print that within, that we have already printed, I believe, but definitely a large scale for the proposed.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, Melody.
Sure. Thank y'all.
Next on our agenda is the discussion of the candidate filing from the registrar's office. And we have the registered here. Come up.
And this will tie in directly with our last conversation on redistricting that Lynette will give you some information on.
A little bit of information from what they've told me. Good morning. The redistricting, of course, is it's new for me, so I have not been through one. I've been talking with the state, told them that our May elections were now, of course, November. We didn't have a choice. It was the law. It came to me the other day. Mr. Vincent called and asked about a candidate packet, and I was like, well, what happens if we redistrict after you pick up the packet? So I contacted state and asked them the question. They got back with me. But everyone has to carry petitions, so the at-large and the wards have to carry petitions to get signatures. And he said that if you filed, so the filing date's June 21st, it's the primary date at 7 p.m. So if you carry the petitions now before redistricting and turn them in to me, I can check them. You can qualify as a candidate. But then after redistricting, if your signatures had changed to a different ward, it would disqualify you off of the ballot. So it might be better to wait till after we get the redistricting done in my system before we file petitions. That would be y'all's choice, because you're open to file from starting January 2nd all the way through the date of June 21st. I have candidate packets if y'all would like to receive them before you leave for the ones that are gonna, the incumbents.
So the other big key is, not only do we have to have the redistricting done for individuals to vote in the primary.
Well, the primary would be, pretty much that's gonna be just for, I would assume, the House, which of course Prince Edward County got split 3 ways. We're now in 2 Senates and 2 Houses. So they're gonna be that, unless there's a special election, and it's just a primary, so it shouldn't. So that should just be the House.
But
So
I'm
we
saying,
have to have
but we
that
have to
done.
have our redistricting done in order 60 days prior to our citizens being able to be involved in the primary.
Well, it only changes the House and the Senate, so I have to have those changed and send notices out to countywide by March 21st, which there's no way the county or the town's gonna make that deadline for changes, so I'll have to do a second mailing after the 2 locals are complete. That's how it was explained to me, because it doesn't affect the lines until November. Y'all's changes don't affect until November.
Yeah,
But of course, it has to be done by the filing date, June 21st.
Yeah, the explanation from the state to us was that you had to have your redistricting done 60 days before the next election. And so the next election would be June.
Right.
So we definitely have to have our redistricting done. But in which the registrar is saying is, in order for you to file to be a candidate in November, you have to do it before June the
21st.
by June 21st. And so it has to be in the district that you're going to represent.
In the ward, yeah.
Petition-wise, where are we on signature petitions? Is it 125 for at-large?
125 for at-large and mayor, and 25 for the wards.
Right. And so you'd have, if we
So if
did the redistricting and got it done by April, then you're looking at a pretty short window to get your signature petitions.
Or just stick to the core of what didn't change and get those signatures. Get just what didn't change.
Is the population back over the point that it requires 125 again?
It does.
Or the voter?
It's about 36 roughly. I pulled those this morning, but I didn't add them up before I came. It's 368, I think, in Cumberland, and there's like 33 something here, so it's 36 something. So it's over the 35.
And I'm assuming in the large, it makes no difference. We can go ahead and pick up our.
Countywide, yep, wouldn't affect.
It
Your
wouldn't affect me
signatures
at
are-
all.
Yeah, I mean, not countywide, I'm sorry.
Townwide, yes.
I just came from a meeting at 9 o'clock from them, sorry.
Okay.
Townwide, yeah,
I would like my packet.
yeah,
Yeah, the only thing it really affects is the individual wards.
yes.
But to your point, that you could focus on your core to get your 25 signatures as long as it was
Yeah,
still
and the part that didn't
retained inside that
change
core.
is-
Yeah,
That's, I was thinking about it, I was like, if they stuck to a
right.
section that wasn't on the proposed move, then you should be safe, but it would depend on, the maps got approved and so. That's about all I can answer. Like I said, we're the same as you. I'm calling state with questions and they're not telling us a lot. A lot of the things with, I know the county, they're like, that's the county attorney has to find out. County attorney has to find out, so.
There's 500 people in a parking lot if you need signatures. Just jump in.
We had to deal with the same thing over there, so that was a big chunk that had to move because of that, so.
And Lynette, it's our understanding also, and I don't know if you can verify this, but there is no more, we do not have to file with the Department of Justice our wards or our redistricting.
I know from the county, I have a guide to redistricting. It tells everything in here. So if you have a town attorney that would like it, from what I understand, there's two options. You can go two ways. You can either do the no objection order from the AG, or you can do the regular, meetings, the public meetings and hearings, which, the public's more involved in those. So you couldn't have somebody come back and say they didn't know, but y'all are already having a meeting, so that might solve that. So I guess it would be up to the council and then their attorney, the town attorney, to advise them on what would be best. Sorry, I can't answer any questions. Like I said, they don't involve me in redistricting. I'm just kind of, once y'all are done and give me the paperwork, then I implement it into the system. So they don't tell us a whole lot. They give us a few guides. And I guess that's it. If anybody has any more questions about anything, I can try to get answers or find out or. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Next on the agenda is discussion of COVID revenue loss ARPA funds.
Vice Mayor, members of council, we have, in your packet, you have been able to read our communications with our auditors and their interpretation of the final rule by the U.S. Treasury. It does show, first off, I will share that we did have, of those years that we had to calculate, there was a revenue loss of approximately $820,000. So in the final ruling, I think you saw that if you can use the calculation, and it can be used for several in areas: construction of schools, which we don't have, road building and maintenance, health services, general government administration, staff and administrative facilities, environmental remediation, and provisions for public safety, as far as even up to purchases and things of vehicles and equipment. So what, and the summary of this is that it did become more flexible in use categories than the interim rule was. And so I think you can see that we could, from this loss, they don't recommend using all 820,000, neither do I. But if it's the pleasure of council to do something additional, it could be under general government services and administration in the terms of incentive pay. We should still stay clear of any type of quote-unquote bonus. We need to tie this into, and they believe something with COVID, and so it could be, incentive for employees for staying during the COVID event or something to that nature, if that's what the desire of council is.
Discussion?
Well, we maybe like to throw that into the finance committee and let them review it and possibly come back with a recommendation one way or the other, or do we want to discuss it amongst ourselves, or how do we want to do this?
I would say this, all of the ARPA funds will need to go in a discussion of prioritizing what we use of the first 4 million and change, and then this coming June we will get another 4 million. So in total we're going to have $8 million in what we use this for. We really do need to have a strategy overall of what we're going to use it for. Mr. Atkins and I were having a conversation just yesterday. There's some, I've talked about things that people don't see, and I know that's not fun, but there's some, we may need to have a study done here in the future, because we just got something from the state and the federal government about lead and copper piping. We don't have any copper or lead piping. We have lead joints. And we need to find out if lead joints is something that we need to look into. Joints in the pipe. We need to locate those. Those are old and where they are. And so it may take we can use some of this money for those types of things too that need to be done. I've already talked about the water and sewer plant and the upgrades that are going to be needed, that we can use that capital for something else when this money is about infrastructure, and then also do some other recreational things that would be good, because as we know during COVID, being outside is one of those things that people wanted to do, you could do, and we need to expand on our recreational abilities to have that, because this isn't leaving us. As you can tell, we're still wearing this, right? 2 years later. And so we need some of those things as well. So even though 8 million sounds like a lot, when you factor in all of these other things, it's not a lot. At the same time, do you want to reward people for staying here during that period of time? I think employees would appreciate that. But
Scott,
that has to come from you all.
We said we would revisit that once we had more information. If you could send out the information back out to council so we can look at it, and then we'll be able to make a decision, next week during the council meeting on what to do. But yeah, we said we would revisit it, and we need to do so.
I'd also like to see about scheduling an infrastructure meeting and possibly trying to form a plan as far as water and sewer, as you mentioned, those things that are not seen need to be addressed more so than people realize, to say the least.
Sure.
Okay, so we'll have this discussion. We won't have anything by the next meeting, but.
Oh, yes, sir. We have the material from the last. We might have had a few people come and go since the last meeting, but the numbers of what it cost us for $1,000 incentive to $2,000 incentive to 500, I mean, we have those numbers. So that won't be hard for us to just provide you before the next meeting.
And you can update that based upon what your current employment is.
Correct.
Right, okay. That sounds good. Thank you. Next on our agenda is new business, appointment to zoning administration position.
Yes, sir. Something that is, we did keep in the zoning ordinances is because it's something that had always been done here, not necessarily other places, but you all, even though the manager hires a planner and all the positions, you actually have to give the blessing of the title of zoning administrator and subdivision agent. And so I would recommend that I not be that person any longer since 2017, and that you make Lee, our new director of community development that actually does this every day on a daily basis, have those powers from our zoning ordinance, if you don't mind.
What is the pleasure of council?
So that means we can reduce your pay a little bit since you're giving away some. I'll make a motion to accept the town manager's recommendation to move those duties to our planning director.
Second.
It has been motioned and second that we appoint Lee as the zoning administration position. So call vote.
Mr. Parrott,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Amos,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer,
Yes.
Mr. Hunter. On a vote of 6 ayes and 0, let's see, the measure is passed. Thank you.
Motion have been passed. That is all on that agenda. I'll go around the table.
Mr. Reed, I think we
Yes.
do have the Officer of the Year here now, if the chief wants to go ahead and do, if you don't mind, it won't take.
I don't mind. I have all day.
Vice Mayor and Council, I do have one additional thing I'd like to announce. The person of interest in the shooting Sunday morning has been apprehended and taken into custody at Eastgate Trailer Park without incident. Thank you, sir. Yeah. Detective Paulette has been nominated or awarded our Officer of the Year award. The Officer of the Year status is awarded to an officer who's been voted upon by the command staff. Nominations for this award are submitted by supervisors to the Chief of Police in writing. Submissions include factors supporting the nomination, such as community involvement, commitment to the agency, superior performance with a specific difficult task, and/or a complete and consistent body of work throughout the year that exceeds normal expectations. Recipients of the I2S Overton Meritorious Service Award during the year will be automatically considered for the Officer of the Year award, however, will not be the sole qualifying factor. Submissions will be reviewed by command staff to determine which officer has exhibited excellence in their position and has gone above and beyond the call of duty. This is the third highest award the department can bestow on a member and is accompanied by a uniform pin that may be worn throughout the year. The Officer of the Year recipient will also be the department's nominee to receive the VFW Law Enforcement Award. Just like last year, many officers have done exceptional work and performed above and beyond their normal duties. Our officers have taken on added responsibilities due to being short-staffed due to the loss of 7 officers over the past year. Officers also had to deal with the continued effects caused by COVID-19 virus. Detective Paulette continued to be a hard worker and has produced many quality cases with his assignment to the Gang and Drug Task Force. In addition to effectively working cases within the task force, Detective Paulette has stepped to the plate and assisted the department in the coverage of vacant shift assignments. In doing so, not only has he filled the void within the shifts, but he also surpassed all officers in the issuance of summonses to include 3 DUI arrests. Detective Paulette continues to manage his criminal investigations well while at the same time participating with many of the department's community relations programs. With each of these tasks, Detective Paulette works towards carrying out the mission statement of the Farmville Police Department, providing a safe and secure community through excellence in public service. Congratulations, Detective Paulette. Thank you for the fine job you do.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Now we'll go around the table. Mr. Coates?
I have nothing.
We need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Day.